WisI video of the WisPolitics Madison Luncheon series at the Madison Club is made possible with sponsorship support from the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance.
That's the answer to that question. Okay, everybody, hello. Welcome to the Leap Day edition of the WisPolitics Luncheon at the Madison Club. We only do this once every 4 years, so this is really special. Just want you to recognize how special it is for you to be in this room for Leap Day. I want to thank our sponsors for this event series: Walmart, ARP Wisconsin, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, XL Energy, American Family Insurance, and Hush Blackwell Strategies, which you folks have been with us from the very beginning under various names. But I like Hush Blackwell Strategies as a name. It's good. So thanks very much. Yes, applaud. Also want to give special recognition to Andy Franken and the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance, which is sponsoring the Wisconsin Eye video of this, which will appear later today at Wisconsin Eye and then at WisPolitics. So let's hear it for Andy, the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance, and Tariq at Wisconsin Eye. All right, upcoming events. On March 19th, March is coming up, everybody. We have Assembly Speaker Robin Voss. And on April 25th, we have the state party chairs, the major state party chairs, to talk about the year ahead. If you have suggestions for a program, just email me at mayors@wispolitics.com, and I'll send it to committee, and then it'll maybe go to the floor for a vote, or maybe be referred to another committee and surprise everybody. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. Okay, also, if you want one of these are free here, but otherwise you have to pay for them, so grab them here. This is our annual printed directory. And we're going to have to do a printed election guide this year because, well, there's this thing called redistricting. Okay, so please welcome the new Senate Minority Leader, Dianne Hesselbein, who happens to be my state senator. All right. So, you wanted to talk about Middleton, why Middleton is so great, because that's where we live. Other than that.
Absolutely. Well, it's fantastic. We've got great restaurants and everything else. But before we start out, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. This is first time, so I appreciate it.
First time as a spectator and as a guest.
Yeah, first time ever. And also want to say I'm sorry to all the people who are getting this WisPolitics pop-up for the last few weeks whenever we try to get on your website. It's like my picture shows up, scared me. It's one thing that Democrats and Republicans agree on. I saw Representative Mark Bourne on the street. He's like, what's up with the WisPol pop-up? And I'm like, trust me, I'm bringing it up. So that was a lot. It was a lot.
Okay, most politicians don't complain about free publicity, but if you wish, it's okay.
We have empty seats here for a reason, so I'm not sure why you did it. Anyway. Just kidding.
Well, you didn't do a good job recruiting then.
There we go. Well, it was the pop-up. It was the pop-up. Yeah, I know. Shots fired. Go.
All right. Anyway, onward. Okay, so, Wisconsin was at the center of the political universe, and then came redistricting. So now we're going to be, I don't know, at the center of, I think somebody said now it's just like a black hole. Everything will go into the Wisconsin election bucket. We don't want to lose sight, though, that there's a presidential election. So before we get into redistricting, so there's a new poll today out from Bloomberg Morning Consult that has crossed the battleground states. It has Trump leading in all the battleground states, leading in Wisconsin by 4 over Biden, and there's a plus or minus 4% margin of error. So is Biden in trouble here?
I don't think he is. I think we have to remember the story and all the good things that President Biden has done for not just our state, but for our country. I mean, when he took over, it was with Trump, who was pretending that COVID wasn't real. COVID was going to be over by Easter. It wasn't. He wasn't taking it seriously. And thank goodness when Joe Biden got there, we were getting shots in arms and getting people back so that we could be here at a luncheon like this and be safe to participate. So besides the bounce back, all the different programs they did when Biden was there, it's just he's done a great job, and I just think we have to keep reminding people of what he's done.
How do you explain the Trump staying power? Or the Trump attraction? Explain that to me.
I am not attracted to Donald Trump, so I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what the Republican Party is thinking. I was told a long time ago, try to never make sense of the nonsensical. And I certainly think that fits here.
Okay, so what are the big hurdles for Biden in this election, do you think, in Wisconsin? Wisconsin specifically.
What are the big hurdles? I just think we have to just keep, like I said, reminding people of all the good things that he's done for people of all ages. And, I think Donald Trump will be doing a nice job of reminding everybody who he is, which is a problem for him and for the Republicans in our state. And I think that's one thing that you see the Republican Party really distancing themselves from Trump. And I think they did that last time he was on the ballot, and I suspect they're going to try to do that again.
You mean the Wisconsin Republican leadership?
I would say most of the Wisconsin Republicans that were running for office, not just the leadership, but they were trying to distance themselves from that campaign because they thought and knew that he was going to go down.
Okay, so let's then put redistricting, overlay redistricting on this. Is, I guess, Evers signed the bill that the Republicans passed, his maps. Most Democrats voted against the bill that Evers signed. Explain that.
Well, I think legislators have done it wrong for so long, and I was really hoping that the Supreme Court could take a shot at it and have it was in their jurisdiction to do something, and I was actually pretty excited to see what they would do. And my thought was let them do the job that they were elected to be our Supreme Court, let them weigh in on it. And I was excited to see what they would do. But
so you thought you'd get a better deal out of the state Supreme Court, is that it?
I didn't know. They could have chosen those maps. I don't know. They could have chosen those exact. There were 4 good, fair maps in front of the Supreme Court. Any of them would have been okay with me. But I really wanted them to have the chance to weigh in.
So what does it tell you that Evers signed them?
I think Governor Evers liked the maps that he proposed. And he thought that
they were fair. Is there a larger message, though?
Like what? Just that he liked.
Like he wanted to own the issue. He didn't want the Supreme Court to do it. He wanted to do it.
Well, I think he liked his maps and what he did. So I think he promised the people of the state of Wisconsin to have fair maps, and he saw this as doing that. And I don't know about legal challenges coming forward. I'm not sure what's happening with that. But it seems like so far from what I'm reading in WisPolitics, shameless plug.
Oh, thank you. Keep going.
You're welcome. About who's running where, and it seems to be that they are making decisions based on those maps.
Okay, so, Will, the conservative law firm, if you will, said they're not going to challenge it. So, and the clock's running out, right?
But they also said that after they passed the state Senate. So it was like on a Sunday news program that they said that they weren't going to do it. So we weren't really sure what was happening with all of that at the time when we were voting for it.
Okay, but do you think there's going to be any challenges, or do you think these are the maps that are going to be in place?
I think these are going to be the maps that are in place, but I never know what law firms and lawyers are going to do. I am not one.
Okay, so what are the best prospects for this fall for the Senate Democrats?
Well, I'm super excited. We have got people, probably right now I could show you my phone. There's people that are excited to run in every single corner of our state. It is fantastic. We finally are going to have fair maps for the state of Wisconsin. I am thrilled. We've got great candidates all over. We just had a launch today for Kristen Alfine for the Appleton-Oshkosh seat. She's a great candidate, ran last time. Super excited about her candidacy. People there are really charged up for her. So it's an exciting year for the Senate Democrats and for the Assembly Democrats as well. It's going to be fun.
Okay, so you're going to predict the outcome. Most people think that it's a 2-cycle program for Senate Democrats to have a real shot at gaining control of the House.
It might be, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be playing in every single corner of the state that we can, because it's important. And with Trump at the top of the ticket, and with Tammy Baldwin and her numbers, it's going to be a great year. It really is.
So, what does this mean for the average voter in terms of the tenor of the conversation from the Capitol? It's been very confrontational between the legislature and Evers. A little less so in the past. In this current session, a lot of big things passed, despite that tension. What's your best expectation from a citizen standpoint coming out of this in the session that will the new two-year session that will follow this year's elections?
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit. What tension are you talking about? Because when I think of what we've done this session, we've done a lot in a bipartisan manner.
Appointments.
Okay, we can talk about.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm just saying. I'm just saying there's some real tension.
We can talk about appointments and how that tension.
Okay.
That's terrible.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Paint a rosy picture for us.
Well, yeah. So I'm really disappointed with how a lot of our people are being treated for appointments, whether it be former Lieutenant Governor Barbara Lawton being kicked off of a committee, former Representative Sandy Pope. I mean, these people are volunteers on committees. They're doing a great job. They've served the state of Wisconsin. They know what it takes to be on these committees, and unfortunately the Republican Party is rejecting them time and time again. So I would say that's probably where the tension is, but as far as getting bipartisan bills done and signed into law, we've gotten some stuff done. We did shared revenue. There was a brewer's bill that we did. I'm hoping we can come together and do something for the environment with PFAS. I don't know if we're going to get there yet, but at a bottom line, they should be releasing the $125 million they have to help combat so people can turn on their taps and have clean drinking water. So we're not done in the Senate. So I'm hoping we can still do a lot of things that we should be doing. The ROFR bill is another one that has great bipartisan support that I think we could do that helps utilities in the state of Wisconsin and workers in the state of Wisconsin. That's an important one. Expungement is something that the Assembly passed that I'm hoping the Senate can take up. Monday day balloting, I don't understand why there's any problem with that when people want people to put the ballots in so they can get adequately counted in time. So I think there's a lot that we can get done. I think there's a lot that the governor is signaling that he would like to sign. It's just a matter of the Republican Party having the will to put these things forward on the agenda that we can vote for.
Okay, well, let's drill down on some of those. Right of first refusal. So it passes on a voice vote in the Assembly,
Yeah.
and then it goes to the Senate, and wow, stuff happens. So, I mean, how do you react to that, and how do you think you get it over the finish line if you and your caucus support it?
Right. Absolutely. So I think conversations with Senator Lemmahue, letting him know where our caucus stands and seeing where they stand. And we haven't seen what the calendar is going to be like. So I'm hoping it's on there. I'm hoping that they're going to have a long caucus next week. So I think that'll become clear as what they can do this session.
Well, explain it. What's going on? Why did Capping send it over to Coles's committee, and why hasn't there been a hearing, and what's going on there?
Well, I'm not a member of the Republican caucus, so I'm not sure what those conversations
Do you have spies, though?
No, it's really, no, I don't bother with that. I merely ask what's going on and what's the trouble. So I guess my guess is that Senator Kapenka doesn't like it, and for whatever reason that is, and they're trying to figure out if there's a way forward.
Okay, so how do you assess the chances of that one?
I'm an optimistic person. So I really am.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah.
And I was in the minority in the Assembly for a very long time. So I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to get some things done. And I'm hoping that they realize we can be partners in that and getting things across the finish line to the governor's desk to sign.
Okay, what about PFAS? Because, that's a very, the governor's pretty much, drawn the line in the sand. And so there does seem to be a resistance there.
There does, and I was on the committee that heard the first PFAS bill, and there were issues. The current bill really ties the hands of the DNR, and that's nothing that Democrats want. We want the scientists to be able to do their jobs, which is extremely important, finding where the PFAS is and being able to deal with it. But at the very least, there's $125 million that the Republicans could release. That's a lot of money and for the entire state of Wisconsin to get grants to help this problem. We should be doing that. We should pass the Rains Act exemption to allow the DNR to continue the groundwater rule. So there's things that we can do that will help the state of Wisconsin, and they're really nonpartisan things. And I just think that when we get together and we talk in a room that we should be able to get these things done. And that's why maps matter, right? Because when we have the right people at the table, we're going to be able to have more conversations next session too.
Okay, so you're painting a picture of a pretty bipartisan relationship between your leadership and the Republican leadership. Is that what's going on?
What I'm saying is that I do have a nice talking relationship with the Republican leadership, yes. Does that mean we agree on everything? Absolutely not. Can I get Medicaid expansion done? No. Can I get recreational marijuana done? No. We couldn't even do medical this year. There's a lot of things, funding for more K-12, mental health funding. There's so many things on the list that we can't get done. But does that mean that we can't talk about other things that maybe we can find bipartisan support for? Yes, it can.
Okay, so you're looking for, again, you're optimistic. You're looking for the good, the pathway forward. You're looking for the places where you can agree. Is that your like overall philosophy?
That's my hope, right? That we can find some things that we can agree on. Yes.
Okay, so this balloting counting thing. I mean, it's labeled as a Milwaukee issue, but of course it affects other places. But it's again. You have the Assembly says okay, but the Senate committee chair Knodel says no. So how do you move that one forward if the committee chair says it's not happening?
Well, I think, once again, we continue to have conversations and wonder why. What in the world is going on with Monday day balloting that's exciting or dubious, or what questions do they have? Because this is not just important to Milwaukee. It really is. A lot of county clerks care about this Monday day balloting. So it's trying to dive down. Who has the issue? Is there somebody who gets along with that senator that could go in that office and have a conversation? And sometimes, unfortunately, the Republicans in the state Senate, right now, they have a rule that they want 17 people to be able to vote for anything coming on the floor. But that they haven't held true and fast to that all year, right? Because they needed Democratic votes to do shared revenue. They needed Democratic votes to do the Brewers deal. So they can work with us again. It's just, do they have the conviction behind it to say, you know what, let's stop this partisan, honestly, goofiness, and let's work together for the best of the state of Wisconsin. That's what I'm hoping we can get to. It's a few more weeks, but my door is always open and always has been.
So do you go to them and say, look, Senator Lemieux, we'll deliver, 15, not 15, sorry. We'll deliver.
I wish.
Do you wish it were 15?
I
Sorry.
wish. Soon. Soon.
I went into journalism because I can't add. Okay, but anyway, all right. Do you go to them and say, we can deliver these votes?
What I say, yes. I have said that we are definitely open to having those conversations. Let us know how we can be helpful.
And the response is?
We have a long caucus next week. We'll let you know.
So you have a much smaller caucus. Is it easier to have a big caucus where there can be divisions, or a smaller caucus, well, you got to be united?
Well, it's always great to have more members, right? And I come from the state with the Assembly. We had a lot of Democratic members, but it led to a lot of fun caucuses as well, but also really diving deep into the issues as well, that people had difference of opinions, and you talk there and you kind of hash some things out. It's good. I'm looking forward to having more members next fall. It's going to be great.
Okay, so you're guaranteeing you're going to have more members.
Yes.
Okay, how many more?
Quite a few.
Well, you have to give a number now.
I do not. You already said you're not a math person, so no, we're going to have a lot. We're going to.
Yeah, but I
can
ask for a math question. I can ask.
You can ask whatever you want.
Yeah,
this is true. You can.
Okay.
You are the interviewer.
Well, okay, but you got at least 3 pickup seats, right?
More than that, probably.
Okay, like how many?
Like more than that. It's going to be great. It's going to be really exciting.
Okay, but there's obviously divisions on the other side.
Yes, that is clear.
Okay, and so are there ways for, how can Senate Democrats in a minority position currently influence or exploit those divisions on the Republican side?
I don't say you exploit it, but I think you just, like I said, you have an open door and you continue to have those conversations to see how, if you care about an issue, how can you be helpful? And I think sometimes they say, well, this senator has a problem with this part of the bill, right? And then you can either, if you know that senator, you can go up there and ask them about it, or you can say, you know what, that senator is not into me. That happens. But I know they like so-and-so, and so somebody else will go in there and just say what's going on. Because there are relationships that happen in the Senate that are helpful. Like I said, and the big things I really care about, Medicaid expansion, all this other stuff, we don't see eye to eye. But on some of these other issues that are still important for the state of Wisconsin, like safe drinking water, we can hopefully get there.
So PFAS are alive, ROFR's alive in your view. Mm-hmm. Is the ballot counting thing alive in your view?
I hope so. Yeah, I think a lot of it is, because we just don't know what they're going to do.
Medical marijuana is not alive, though.
It is not. It's unfortunate. I've been on that bill for years with former Senator John Rippenbach, and I have been working with Senator Olfakowski in a bipartisan manner to see if there was something we could do. But as soon as we saw what Speaker Voss put out, we knew it was a no-go, right? It was like, well, that's the most, and that's, Speaker Voss said it's the most restrictive in the state of Wisconsin, and we don't want what's most restrictive. We want the most that's going to work the best. So that was unfortunate.
Obviously, he didn't work with his Senate colleagues on that bill.
But they did talk, right? So they did have lots of conversations. And then Senator Fakowski would tell me how those conversations were going and what was going on. So that's something where you could, we tried to do something and we couldn't get it done, which is unfortunate.
Okay. There's the Republicans, mostly Senator Lemieux, when he was last here, talked about tax cuts a lot. I mean, that's one of his personal major goals. And here we are in an election year, and when there's a surplus like this in the past, there's often been bipartisan agreement on, giving the money back.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't Democrats playing ball on tax cuts?
Well, I think it's the amount of tax cuts and what they consider middle class. So it's
Well, didn't they expand what is considered middle class?
Not much, no. So they got rid of one tier, but not as much as what we should have done. So we believe in targeted tax cuts that can help people, but also we believe we should be spending money on priorities of the state of Wisconsin, whether that be K-12 funding, helping our colleges and universities, technical college, healthcare. There's so many more things we need to be doing with it as well.
Okay, but it is an election year. It wouldn't it benefit some of your candidates to be talking about tax cuts?
Possibly. But I mean, we're for tax cuts, but it has to be done in a way that makes sense for the state of Wisconsin.
So the theory that Evers wants to hold on to this for the next session, hold on to the surplus, the Democrats and Evers want to hold on until you're in a better bargaining position. Is that really what's going on?
Well, let's be clear. It's not that Evers and the Democrats want to hold on to it. It's because the Republicans are putting forth policy that don't reflect the will of the people of the state of Wisconsin, and it doesn't help the average person in the state of Wisconsin. So if the Republicans...
I'm talking about the political tactic here.
Well, I'm saying if the Republicans wanted to do something and get it done, they could. But they're not interested in coming to the table and talking with Governor Evers about what that would look like. And that's disappointing.
Okay, but you will be in a better position in the next session.
Absolutely. Absolutely we'll be in a better position. Yes. 100%.
So
you're hearing it here first. There you go.
So you'll be...
Breaking news, fair maps are great for the state of Wisconsin.
So you'll be in a better position to do what you want with tax cuts?
Yes.
Okay, so you're just going to agree with me. All right. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the Evers appointments.
Sure.
Okay, so when I asked Senator Lemieux here earlier this year about the appointments, he didn't think they were out of the ordinary, the actions of the Republican State Senate on the appointments. His answer was, I think I've heard Felskowski say this too, well, just send us people who aren't so partisan. So I guess what is the precedent setting here in terms of the future? Like if there were ever, when there is a Republican governor again and there's a Democratic Senate, would Democratic senators be treating that Republican governor that way?
I would hope not. I'll be honest. I think.
So you don't believe in revenge?
Well, I also don't believe in Irish amnesia, so that doesn't exist. But I will say it's disappointing. It really is disappointing, and I think I brought it up on the floor that it might be that one of my colleagues, decides to retire and not run again, but they'd still like to be on a board somehow and serve the state. And just because you retire from the state legislature doesn't mean that you're done with what you'd like to do with public service. And I think there are so many ways that people can influence and help, and certainly I think people that have served our state know to read all the information. They know the correct questions to ask. They know to turn everything over and look at it from a critical point. So that's why I was really disappointed that they rejected Representative Sandy Pope and Lieutenant Governor Barbara Lawton, because those women have served our state so well.
Did that cross a line for you? I mean, what's the most egregious one? I mean, Todd Ames, made some bad tweets, but
Melissa Baldiv, who was wonderful on the Domestic Abuse Council. She did great work there. People on the Natural Resource Board. I mean, there are people that came in front of us and they were like hunters, fishers. I mean, they bear hunters, right? It's like, what's good enough for you? I mean, that's the thing that never made sense. It's like, what's the problem of what they did, and how can they help that? I know I stood up when it was Sandy Pope was in front of us, and I'm like, what did she ever do to you? I'm sure she didn't tweet anything that was egregious. Show me what she did, and they can't. And they couldn't respond to it. Nobody answered. So I don't know what their measurement is on people.
Right. So, again, if the tables are turned, you would hope that if you're the leader of the state senate, you're going to say, now we're going to let the governor, this Republican governor, have the appointments she wants.
I like that. I would say we will definitely look at it, but if there's a reason not to have somebody, we're not going to be shy about saying what that is. I would hope. I would hope that if there's a real reason why we should not confirm somebody, we're going to stand by our convictions and tell the people in the state of Wisconsin what's going on and not hide behind this cloud of silence just voting no.
Okay, so it hasn't always been a cloud of silence, though. So they do at times point out, why.
The tweets, yeah, they do. I think.
Or policy, they did question some of the Natural Resource Board appointments, and they were obviously displeased with the answers
about the wolf population.
Yes,
right.
Well, that's a major issue.
Right, but they also had no idea on how they wanted that problem solved. So that was part of the problem as well. So I said, what do you expect? What are you hoping that they will say? And they're like, well, we don't know. We don't know. I think they were playing games.
Okay, but let's go back to it. Everybody serves at the pleasure of the governor, every appointee, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the matter? Other than the tension created, how does it interfere with the way government works or doesn't work in Wisconsin?
Well, I think people who want to serve, they look at this and they think, why bother to put my name out there if I'm just going to be dragged through the mud and I'm going to be voted down on the floor without a reason? I mean, it's demoralizing.
Is that why we don't have a natural resources secretary right now?
I'm not sure why. You should ask the governor that question.
He's not here.
Well, maybe when he is, you can ask him.
So sometimes there's been a real disconnect between the governor, and this isn't just for Evers as governor, it happened during Doyle too. Evers and the Democratic members of the legislature. Sometimes it appears you're not all on the same page. And I'm not just talking about the redistricting bill. Do you view that as a problem? Do you view that as changing? Do you view that as getting better? I mean, I've often heard members informally complain, like, well, governor didn't tell us.
No idea what you're talking about.
Really?
Really, yeah. I think we get along great. I'll be honest. I mean, do we have our strong opinions? Of course we do. Everyone does. But that doesn't mean that we don't stand behind the governor. I think he's doing a great job. I'm so glad Governor Evers is there. I really am. He's a great guy.
Well, I'm sure you're glad that you have a Democrat.
No, I mean, he's a really nice guy. I think people don't think of that often enough, but he's approachable. He answers questions when I have them for him. He's got a good administration, got a good team.
Should he run for re-election?
I hope so, if he wants to.
Do you think he'd be reelected?
Yeah. I think he's done a lot of good for the state of Wisconsin. He has a good record to run on. I don't know when he's going to make that decision, but
well, again, when he signed those maps, I thought he wants to run for re-election.
Maybe. He gave us fair maps of the state of Wisconsin. It's been decades coming.
So, he also, though, talked about, which I thought very interesting, it kind of got lost in the coverage. He wants to have a bipartisan maps commission of some sort. Mm-hmm. He kind of talked about why he didn't like the Republican Iowa-style redistricting bill when he was here. But Democrats had the opportunity to do that in the last 2 years of the Doyle administration, and they did not. Mm-hmm. And then, well, stuff went south. So
I was not there then.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just having a historical reference here. Mm-hmm. So do you think Democrats, on the cusp of victory here,
want to do something on fair redistricting for the future? Yes, absolutely.
To take it out of the hands of politicians?
Yeah, I think we need to.
Okay.
I really think.
Do you think that Iowa is the model for that?
I think Iowa has, I like the way they do it, where they use state agencies, which I like parts of it. I think we have to revisit it, but I do think there's a way to take it out of our hands. And I think we should.
So one of the things that the governor brought up unsolicited from any of my dumb questions was the Legislative Reference Bureau. He says, well, why should we let them do it? Because, well, they're obviously Republican. It was his inference, even though it's a nonpartisan agency.
How do you think that was an inference that he made just based on what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. We can go to the tape. Anyway.
Oh, go to the tape. Right? I would.
No, but
are you just reading into something that wasn't there?
Yeah, I said I think that was his inference. Well, he said something.
So you think that the governor thinks that the Legislative Reference Bureau is Republican?
He said that he didn't think it should be in their hands to draw the maps.
But that doesn't mean that he thinks that they're Republicans.
Okay.
It just means that it shouldn't be in their hands. I'm just trying to seek clarity on what I'm responding to.
Oh wow. Okay. Who should draw? Let me ask you this then.
Do I trust the Legislative Reference Bureau? Yes, I do.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're great. They give a lot of great information.
No, I wasn't asking you to trash the Legislative Reference Bureau. I'm saying, let me ask this: who should draw the maps?
I like the idea of the Legislative Reference Bureau drawing them. I think they would do a good job.
Okay. So how would it work, and how would we have it so that there wasn't an override. I think in New York they had a bipartisan commission draw them, and then New York Democrats overrode it and did their own version of the maps anyway. How would we prevent that here? Would there have to be a constitutional amendment? I mean, I honestly don't know.
Possibly. I think there has to be some sort of guardrails, and that's what we have to kind of look at to see what that would look like. I know the Iowa model, they do all the hearings all around the state, and then it comes back, and there can be tweaks or whatever, but then still it's up to us to, and so I think we have to figure out those guardrails and how that would work.
But you would personally commit to wanting to do that?
To do a fair, yes, to do a fair nonpartisan redistricting. Yeah, I think we need to. I know we need to. Because I think, and also the millions of dollars we spend in court costs alone are just
crazy.
Are just insane. I mean, just what we've done before. And then like 10 years ago when they did it, I think that's when it was, like there was a lawsuit and then people were burning computers and drives and just bizarre. I mean, people were monsters. And so I just think we need to make this so that...
that could be the headline of this, people are monsters.
Well, people I would say that people that were burning computers to try to hide information from the public are monsters.
Yeah, I mean, but, it's only supposed to happen once every 10 years, and here it's happening twice in 10 years. Mm-hmm. And we're only 4 years into the decade.
But I think people in the state of Wisconsin had enough of these gerrymandered districts. And all fair maps do, as you know, is when the Democrat would win statewide, then we should have more Democratic seats. If the Republican wins statewide, when Donald Trump won the state of Wisconsin, which he did, unfortunately, but he did, they should have more seats. That's all that fair maps are. It's just not gerrymandered districts so that no matter if Joe Biden wins, that the Republicans are still in control because they scoot around the corners. Okay,
but there are other things. The Republicans will say, and I think that a lot of political pros would agree, there's other things to it, right? There's other, candidate recruitment, how you do the money, how you do the campaign, on the ground. Like, how does Todd Novak always seem to win, even though his district is Democratic?
Yeah, he does.
Right. So, I mean, there's more to it. I mean, the maps are important, but they're not the only thing.
They're not the only thing, but we do a great job at getting great candidates. But it is hard to get a great candidate when you're running against an incumbent in a gerrymandered seat. So, and that is a difficult thing because you tend to like the people you vote for, and you really have to make the case to vote somebody out of office. And when you see them at the grocery store and you've seen them for years, you go to a listening session, you feel hooked into that person. And you feel like, well, I know that person. You don't always see the terrible votes they take on the Senate floor or the goofy things that people say.
So, as you said earlier, though, candidate recruitment now is a lot easier.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, and you have people coming to you instead of going to having to find these people, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Now, on the congressional side, we still have the current maps. They were the Evers maps, actually, that were adopted, and now there's a suit to change those as well. What's your hope on that as a Wisconsin Democrat?
Well, once again, I hope that the Supreme Court takes a look at it and decides to make a change, right? I think they're very smart, and so I really trust them to do due diligence to look to see, should they do it, and if they did it, what would that look like?
So there's enough time?
Oh, there's enough time.
I thought we had to do this by March 15th.
Well, it's only February 29th.
Do you know something that we don't know?
No. Well, probably, but not on this issue.
No, you probably know a lot more than I know. On this particular issue, though, so do you view the congressional maps in Wisconsin as unfair?
I think so. I think they are, and I think that the Supreme Court can take a look at it and see what they want to do.
Because why are they unfair?
I think it's for the same reason that the state of, the legislature is unfair. I think I don't know. I'm just hoping that the Supreme Court can look at it.
Well, there's only 2 Democratic members of the House.
Right.
Okay, well, and there's 8 seats.
Right.
Okay, so so you would think like Mark Pocan could give up some of his district to the 3rd, and that would help the 3rd.
Possibly, and have more fairness, yeah.
Are you weighing in on that primary? The 3rd?
Which is which one?
Western Wisconsin? Katrina Shanklin?
No, I am not.
Because?
There are great people running there. I think they're both lovely people, so let them have it. Right? I think it's great. I think that people are going to have a real choice. It's good.
Okay, are you ready for questions from the audience?
Absolutely. We have time? We didn't know if we'd have time.
Oh, no, we have time. We have time.
There
oh,
you
yeah,
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Should I call on Kelda?
Sure. My good friend Kelda
You
here.
did plant people to ask planted questions, right? That's what all the
did
smart
not.
people... Oh,
all the smart people. Why did I agree to do this? Anyway.
because you're my state senator.
Exactly.
I made you feel guilty.
You did, because he emailed, 3 times, and then cornered me somewhere, and he's
Then
like,
you
why
said,
aren't you?
you said, what's a WisPolitics luncheon, since you
did.
had never been to one. So.
I didn't. I just said, do I really have to? And you said, yeah. Here I am.
I twisted your arm.
You
Okay.
did. That's fine.
Okay, who's going to ask a good question? I only call on somebody. Sean?
I think Democrats have a history of showing up for people and doing things to help rural Wisconsin and farmers in general. And I think we have to remind them of the good things that we've wanted to do for years and haven't been able to.
Give some
Including
examples.
Driver's license for workers, right, in farms. I know that's really something that when I first started in 2012 in the State Assembly, people weren't talking about. But now rural farmers are all saying, my gosh, we want the people that work on our farms to be able to have driver's licenses. And so that's moved. That's moved quite a bit now. And I think that's important to know that we would like that to happen as well.
Well, you have a big part of your district is pretty rural.
Absolutely. And when I first was meeting with those farmers, they were a little hesitant. And now they're coming to the Capitol saying, Dianne, we want them to be able to drive and drive safely and have driver's license and have insurance and be able to participate fully in the state of Wisconsin. And we need to solve immigration, but we can't solve everything from the state level, but we can do this little piece to make their lives easier.
So Sean, though, question, he's asked a version of this question many times, but it goes to why, I think, Sean, I'm going to say what I think you're thinking, why can't Democrats communicate with rural people in Wisconsin?
I wouldn't say that was his question at all.
No, I know. But
That was not his question.
Sean, was that your question?
I'm just saying that I think we're reading it. What? I think what Sean is saying is he would like to...
Wait, why don't we let
helpful.
Sean say it instead of interpreting what Sean says?
I know what Sean's saying. Absolutely we can. Absolutely we can.
And why is that, though?
Because when we go there and we talk about a positive agenda, people care and they want to listen.
So it's a communications issue.
It's a communications issue, but it's also we have to listen to what they have to say too, which is what we've been doing for years, and that's why we have a positive agenda, because we've been listening to people in all corners of the state for years.
Okay, Sean, sorry I used you as a foil. Okay, in the back here. Yes, you.
It's you with the blue. Absolutely, and thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I'm hoping we can get that one done too. It certainly had a lot of bipartisan support in the Assembly, so I'm hoping we can take that up in the Senate and do that as well. But I think that's another example of ways we can work together and help many people in the state of Wisconsin.
Can you explain that?
Sure. Years ago, we passed a bill, bipartisan, signed into law about Holocaust education and making sure that schools were teaching that. And this one would be opening it up to Asian Pacific Islanders to talk about everything that they've done for our state and our community and educating students on why that is important. And I think, sometimes people think these are small bills, but really when it's educating people about the importance of different cultures, different people in the state of Wisconsin and others, it's really important. So thank you for that.
All right, thanks for that question. Over here.
Ah. Sure. Sure. So I think that's one piece where Senator LeMahieu and I will never get along, never go together on that one. Certainly we believe in a woman's right to choose and body autonomy, and we don't want the state to have to dictate to anybody what they have to do. If they are pregnant, if they want to be pregnant, if they're going to continue pregnancy. Certainly we've seen what's happened in Alabama with IVF, and weird. I mean, weird stuff that's happening all across the United States. So I think this is going to be an issue. Abortion is going to continue to be an issue. We tried to have a few weeks ago, Senator Royce did a pulling motion on contraception, right to contraception, and that couldn't even pass, right? So I think that is something that we're going to continue to talk about because people know that contraception works. They want to be able to say what happens to their own bodies. I've told people, like, when I'm in the doctor's office, I don't want to be there half the time. I don't want to be in anybody else's doctor's office making decisions for them, and nobody should want a Republican in there either. It's just, that's none of our business. They can make their own decisions on what they want to do with their doctors and their own conscience.
There's also a lawsuit
Yeah.
before the state Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
And do you
And
have a feeling
once
of that
again,
will happen?
So you're always asking if I have insiders. I don't. I'm hoping the Supreme
What's your-
Court takes
yeah, what's
it.
your hope?
I'm hoping the Supreme Court takes it up. I think they should. I think it's something within their purview, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that decision is.
So how powerful an issue is that? I mean, some Democrats who are feeling not so great about Biden as a nominee are very high on issues like abortion helping get the Democratic coalition, helping get out the vote. I guess how powerful an issue, I'm not saying that you have to agree that Biden is a potentially weak nominee, but how powerful is the issue?
Well, first of all, I don't think that President Biden is a weak nominee. So I really want to correct the record. I don't think he's a weak nominee at all. I think, once again, he's done a lot for the United States and for the state of Wisconsin. I think he's got a great record to run on, and I'm excited to vote for him. But as far as abortion being an issue, absolutely, body autonomy is extremely important. And I think people, when they made this disastrous decision and struck down Roe versus Wade, I think it woke up a lot of people, and a lot of people were like, they didn't see it coming. I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily think it was coming. I was like, oh my gosh, they're not going to do that, right? And then they did it, and it was like, how backwards are we now? And how scary is it now that we have people that are in these awful pregnancies trying to figure out how to terminate something when the fetus isn't viable, or all these different things that are happening to women all across Wisconsin and other places. It's scary. It's a scary time.
Well, in fact, there was some months where there weren't any abortions in Wisconsin until there was a lower court decision on that. So,
Right.
So Republicans have been trying to find their feet on the issue, sort of arriving at, well, so many weeks, maybe that's a way to do it. Why do you disagree with that approach? Because they portray it as a compromise position. That why do you have to say, well, we have to go back to Roe v. Wade?
Right, we have to go back to Roe v. Wade because it's a woman's right to choose what to do with her own body, period. You can't say 14 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever pretend compromise that is. That's not a compromise. They're simply trying to tell people that are pregnant what to do, and that's not okay.
Good enough? Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Let's put Sean's words, let's make up what
I think what Sean really wants to say.
What Sean really wanted to say was, we could play a partner game of that.
Sure. I think it does. I think we find women, independent women, even possibly Republican women, that don't want anyone to tell them what to do with their bodies or their daughters or anybody else in the state of Wisconsin. So I think people are going to rise up and they're just going to say, I've had enough with this. I know what decisions I want to make for myself, and I don't want the Republicans making it for me.
That was an excellent question, Sean. All right. Other questions out there? Wow, rapid fire. Come on, John, yeah.
Sure. I think, thanks, John, for the question. I would just say we believe that elections should be fair, safe, and secure, and they are. And I think every baseless claim that gets talked about, we have to keep slamming it down as quickly as possible. because this mistrust of elections is just awful, or the idea that students on campuses should be voting from where they're from and not where they are. I mean, we need more people voting, period. And so I'm excited about that, trying to get the vote out everywhere we can. But every time we hear about these baseless claims, we have to let them know that's not true, and this is why. And I think most of the Republicans, some of the Republicans understand that. I'm saying most. Some of them understand that in the state, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Republicans are going after Speaker Voss right now. I don't quite understand that reasoning. I don't understand why they think that this election wasn't viable and real. But like I said at the very beginning, I was told a long time ago, don't make sense of the nonsensical, or you drive yourself mad. So I just keep sticking to the facts.
Are you happy with the way the Elections Commission is structured and operates?
I think they're doing an okay job.
Do you think the structure could change?
Well, let's be clear. Every time that they come up with a decision, the Republicans get mad and they put something else. Like, they didn't like it was running before, so they created the JB. They didn't like that. They did something else. So they're always trying to change the goalposts because they want different things. I just want a fair process that works, and doesn't mean I always agree with every decision they make, but at least I can try to understand it, and at least they don't hide behind making secret decisions. So I think it's working.
Right, and the Wisconsin system is very diverse is probably not the right word, but it's multi-jurisdictional. The Elections Commission gives guidance a lot, but really it's up to the clerks and the locals who are administering elections. And do you think that they need extra help that they're not getting? Do you worry about, they're having trouble recruiting people for elections. I mean, is there something that state government can do, that elected politicians can do?
I think we can just keep talking about fair, safe, secure elections and make sure that people aren't attacking poll workers or anybody else. And I think we have to say thank you and appreciate the job that these county municipal clerks do, because it's hard. It's hard before all of this stuff happened, right? There's a lot. I've been there watching as an observer when the end of that little ticker tape comes out, and there's a lot of stress going on in that room, and you don't even talk because they're just really busy. But they know what they're doing. They follow a checklist. It works really well, and I'm proud of the work that they do.
Okay. Other questions?
So I'll be honest, I don't think I personally have done enough to talk about what President Biden has done. But when you look at the accomplishments and you start adding them up, it does all add up. And how do you get that? Mailers, I think you post it on social media. I think you have more conversations. I think you listen to what other people say. Because sometimes, when I knock on a door and I'm like, oh, what matters to you? And one of the things I think we do as a Democratic Party is we do a lot of listening. To hear what really matters to voters. But sometimes they bring up things that Joe Biden did for them or that Governor Evers did for them that maybe oh my gosh, I forgot about that grant that kept your business there, that type of a thing. So I think we have to do more listening and reminding people.
Okay.
Sure. So one of the things we do for recruitment is people call us, right? So when people want to run for office, they'll give us a call. They might call Senator Royce. They might, they reach out, and then we say, oh, did you talk to so-and-so? And then, primaries happen, right? And people can run. So definitely encourage, if you know somebody who wants to run somewhere, let us know.
Oh, you're not talking about candidates. I took it as that as well.
I'm
You're
sorry.
talking about
Getting people out to vote. Got it. Okay, so I thought you were talking about people running, and I'm like, do you know somebody, and where are they, right? Another one of these conversations that I'm excited to have. Okay. No, absolutely. We got to be, I mean, I think there's always a push on the end to remind people to vote. There is, and it's always, we just have to start sooner. And I think the Republican Party's taken a note from the Democratic Party saying that, yep, get your vote in, then get it early. That's new for them. They haven't been doing that as much, but absolutely we need to be getting out there soon and telling people why it's important that they vote. But you're right. There always does seem to be a crush at the end, but we need to be doing that sooner.
Okay, Brad.
Yeah, you know, we have a lot, and certainly with
See, she'll tell you, but she wouldn't tell me.
I'm not giving a number, but no, we have certainly pickup opportunities. There's a seat in the Milwaukee area, definitely Green Bay, that Oshkosh Appleton that I mentioned that Kristen Alfine was for. I'm looking at Keldheim for Southwest Wisconsin. Yep, there's going to be a lot of people that are running, so it's very exciting. It's going to be a great time. Yes. So that's a good question when we take over the majority. Are we going to have the rule of 17? That's something that I'll have to discuss with my caucus. I think it's going to matter issue by issue. I would hope that we wouldn't hold good bills hostage just because two people might not like them. I think that's a shame when that happens because, like I said, all the things that I mentioned have great bipartisan supports. Some of them passed on a voice vote in the assembly, and there shouldn't be any issues with it. So I'm hopeful. So it's my understanding that we're still waiting for the Supreme Court to weigh in on that because we're not sure what that would look like with the maps and when that would be, when that would happen. So I think we're still waiting for some clarification on that, but I'm certainly hoping that I can get a colleague sometime soon. That would be exciting.
Have you recruited anybody yet? Because
so far I think there are two people that are interested in that seat, but I'm not sure if there's any others.
okay, I think we've answered every single question.
Wonderful. Well, here's a little plug to remember to go out and vote in the April election. Super important. But also stay tuned. We've got a lot of exciting people that are going to be running for the state Senate, and I know we'll be calling most of you soon.
I have a very important question to ask you, though. Will you come back to a WisPolitics luncheon even if you're not the guest?
I have a very important question for you.
What's that?
Will you ever take a yard sign? The answer is no.
Okay, she's here all week, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Senator Dianne Hesselbein.
Thanks so much.
All right, let's thank the sponsors, Hush Blackwell Strategies, American Family Insurance, XL Energy, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, AARP Wisconsin, Walmart, and the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance sponsoring the WisI video. Thanks, WisI, and everybody for being here. See you next time.
You have been watching a production of Wisconsin Eye, your unfiltered window into legislative deliberations and public policy programming, where our mission is to provide Wisconsinites an opportunity to access the legislative process and connect with conversations that inform our citizenry. Please consider supporting our mission, and thank you for watching. Wisconsin Eye, policy made public.